Okay, it looks like we're live, and it looks like Ed is joining us. All right, hey Ed, how you doing?
I think you're on mute, Ed.
Hey, let's try it again. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, Jeff, you know how these microphones work, right?
There's a little button right in the front.
That's right. And look, you can't see the button because, you got the mic staring you at the face, in the face.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing?
All right, how about yourself?
Yeah.
I'm doing well.
All right, well, let's get our meeting here. I don't know if Bobby was going to join us or not. I don't see her on here. So let's go ahead and start. So this is, let's see, today is March 15th, and we'll call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Commissioners of Poolesville. It is 7:05, and I'll go ahead and lead us in the pledge this evening.
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United States
of America,
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it
for which
stands,
it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty, and justice for all.
Pearl.
And we'll start off tonight with our commissioner and committee reports. So first of all, I just wanted to say congrats to everyone who may have gone back to in-person school today. I live really close to PES, and I have to say it was nice to hear the crossing guard blowing her whistle this morning. And I saw a lot of buses going around, so I definitely was thinking about all of our kids and families and teachers and administrators starting back down that path, and hopefully we're heading towards more normalcy here.
Well, Carrie,
Yes.
I got a text message from a person watching on YouTube,
Okay.
and the person said they can only see the person speaking.
Oh, I did it again.
Yeah, so you could change it to
Gallery.
gallery, right?
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
I gotta remember to do that each time. Thank you. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I just wanted to announce, Bobby let me know that we can open back up the pavilion rentals. The county now, the restrictions now are 25 people are able to gather in a group indoors, and I think it's now at 50 outdoors. So because of that, we're going to go ahead and reopen the pavilion. So the town will be putting in all of the seating in the pavilions, and the pavilion rentals will begin again. And then next, we wanted to give an update on the Poolesville Day Committee and sort of what they're planning or what they're thinking in terms of what Poolesville Day might look like this year. And we actually have Faith is here, I believe. Faith Etheridge is here. And Bobby's here too. Faith, are you with us?
I am.
How you doing?
Good.
So do you want to give us a little update on what's going on with Poolesville Day Committee?
Yes. Well, first I want to say good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to be able to talk to everyone about Poolesville Day again. As you know, the decision to cancel Poolsville Day 2020 was by far the toughest decision our committee has ever had to make since I've been the chairperson.
Mhm.
And for over 20 years, our festival has grown in participation and participants and visitors. And as you know, it's the highlight of the calendar year for our wonderful town. And it was a hard choice, but a reasonable one, given the dynamics of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, with businesses shutting down, schools closing, and folks staying home. Now, 1 year after the public notification of this hideous and deadly disease, hope is on the horizon. Millions of Americans have been vaccinated, and millions more rolling up their sleeves and lining up. And gradually, reopenings are casually moving forward, and folks are beginning to feel a level of comfort going about their business, visiting relatives. And when our committee met early this month, we unanimously agreed that we would move forward with our plans to hold Poolsville Day this year, 2021. And we did with the understanding that Poolsville Day, as we've noted in the past, it's going to look different. Our plans are to have Poolsville Day, even if we need to make modifications in how we present our festival. Everything's on the table. The number of vendors, the children's ride, the parade, even the porta potties. So we're just going to need to pivot. And, it's a term now used universally. And we will obviously need the commissioner's support in helping to finance a portion of our plans moving forward. And I'm sure that you agree that our town, our local businesses, our schools, all need Poolsville Day to happen. We will be keeping an eye on this trajectory of the virus and the lifting of the restrictions from the CDC and our local leaders. And it is our hope to put on the best possible festival we are able. And as we approach September 18th, 2021, we are hoping to reevaluate probably by June or July, and we'll be able to see how the metrics are trending and make a final decision on our protocols at this time. So I just appreciate you listening, and we just wanted to reach out to the commissioners to let them know that, our thinkings and where we're headed forward. Did anybody have any questions?
So it sounds to me like you're starting to plan, but you're gonna kind of reevaluate in July.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But we just wanted to make sure, because we know you're working on the budget, that we are included in the budget this year.
Gotcha. Very good. Sounds like a smart way to move forward.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Faith?
Well, this is Jeff. I kind of feel your situation, because we at the fire station, we're kind of in the same boat regarding the 4th of July fireworks. So we are proceeding full speed ahead, knowing, or maybe I should say hoping, that the trend in vaccinations continues and things open up to permit Montgomery County large outdoor gatherings. So, but we are proceeding. We're already starting to line up the food trucks and getting the permits, and doing all the site inspections and advanced things that we need to do. So we're kind of right there with you, keeping our fingers crossed that things continue to go in the right direction. But thanks very much for everything that you're working on with, so much still up in the air.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, great. Well, thank you, Faith. We appreciate it. I know it's frustrating, but we appreciate that you're still going to put in the work, and we'll all cross our fingers, right?
Absolutely. Just remember it's in the budget.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. Thanks for joining
You
us.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Faith. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Faith.
Thanks.
So I just had one more thing I wanted to bring up. I was able to attend Delegate Hidalgo's meeting on plans for White's Ferry last week. And, the salient details of most of the discussions are pretty confidential for a number of reasons. But I think it's still important to just let folks know that these conversations are ongoing. There's quite a few people on the call, folks from County Executive's office, and of course, Andrew Friedson and David Hidalgo and Kathy Matthews from the Up County Regional Center. Chris Conklin was on the call. A lot of folks from MCDOT were there, and staffers from Delegate Dumais and Delegate Chi's office as well. And it's and Andrew Donlin from Congressman Trone's office was there as well. So it's the conversations are ongoing. It's still a frustrating situation. The negotiation continues, and obviously my role in being there was just to continue to say that utilize us, utilize this board, and utilize our community however they feel that they can. So it's just good to know that they're having those talks. That's all for me. And I will.
Hey, Carrie, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Do you know, are they still keeping the people on the payroll at the ferry?
I think it's ending pretty soon, the 19th, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's too bad.
Martin, you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, mine's quick. The planning commission meeting was canceled, because of personnel reasons. So I don't have anything to update you there.
Okay. And Ed, how about you?
All right, there you go. Let me make sure I unmute.
Great.
Yeah, just as I told you last time, when a couple of weeks ago, I bring back some information just from Sustainable Poolsville. And so there are two areas where they would like for us to get involved in with this, the promotional partnerships, things that, from my understanding, that we've done in the past. One is the Solar Co-op promotional partnership. And if you're not familiar with that, that's something that's sponsored. It's really managed by a group called Solar United Neighbors. They're the project managers, and they manage this co-op for Montgomery County. And what we would do if we said yes, we would get involved in that, then they would use our town logo on promotional materials. And then typically Poolsville Green, they conduct informational sessions. And so they've done in the past, they did it at town hall, but now they'll do it online. And so what we're being asked is just to help promote the co-op in our community outreach, whether it's through social media, newsletters, bill inserts. So that's the one, that's an ask for that. And then the second one, are you guys, any questions before I go on to the next one on Solar Co-op? And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that or not. All right, and you're muted, Carrie, but I'm reading your lips. You said you are. All right. And then the other one is from EPA. It's WaterSense. And then it's being a promotional partner with WaterSense. And it's something really focusing on water efficiency. It looks at just the things that are going to be good for the environment. So as a promotional partner, we would be asked to help promote this WaterSense label products, encourage eligible constituents to participate in WaterSense. And we would provide just information about how people could be really more water efficient. And so there's no cost to us to be in that partnership, but it's, once again, there's a benefit in terms of just being environmental friendly. And so what I would like to do is see if there's any questions, and how do you all feel about partnering in these two things officially, not just saying we're with them and we agree to it, it's a good idea, but actually what the ask is that we as a commissioning board, that we would officially go in and enter those two partnerships, which does not come with a cost. All we're doing is helping to promote these things. Any questions?
Sounds great to me. Are we also still doing the sort of energy consumption contest? I think it was just among businesses. That's still something that
I'll look into it. I think
Planning for-
that might have been something we were working on. We have our next meeting next month.
okay,
I mean,
great.
this month, later this month, and so I'll ask about that.
Okay, great.
And so now, in order to do that, do we need to go through and put a motion forward, or can we? Jay, do we need to put a motion forward to do that?
Yeah, I think you should do an endorsement by motion so it's official and in the minutes. And if it's something more than that that we need to sign or something like that, like as a partnership, then they should send it to us and we can follow up.
Sure. So I motion that we would endorse both the solar co-op promotional piece and the WaterSense promotional piece as promotional partners for these two environmental friendly events.
Second that. We have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great.
Okay. And then the last thing from Sustainable Poolsville is that that group would like to be involved or have their voices heard when we get to the point of master planning. They would also just be able to like to be involved, share their thoughts, hear what's going on, but just be included as a voice to help shape the master plan when we get there. That's it.
Very good. Thank you. It's exciting. And Jim.
All right. Okay. Make sure I'm not on mute. Fair Access has been busy, as you guys can always tell. We've always got something going on. So first of all, we had our first real elections after our initial electors had taken office a few years ago. So we decided it was time to mix things up a little bit. Kevin stepped down as president after a spectacular reign, as far as I'm concerned, just the even-handed man at the tiller, as far as I'm concerned, helped us drive our initiatives. Kevin Schramm did a great job as our president for a number of years. And I know all of us are just super happy with his organizational skills and his way to kind of channel everybody. So Kevin, if you're out there listening, great job. Next up, we elected Link as our new president. Couldn't think of a better person to do the job. He's definitely been the straw that stirs the drink in terms of fair access, and it's our partner in getting everything done. So Link's amazing. He's our new president, and our newcomer Maria McGuire is our vice president. So Maria, we're figuring out exactly. She's got a lot of skills to offer, so we're just trying to figure out what's the best way to utilize her, and she's already come up with some great ideas. So Maria McGuire is our new vice president, and looking forward to working with her and having her dig in a little bit further. She's done a great job so far. Other things we've been doing, we're reaching out to the new interim school superintendent, and we've got a nice letter worked up. Basically, it's a greeting. It calls out our previous history with Dr. Smith and how much his advocacy has meant to Poolsville and to our efforts about getting a new Poolsville High School, which just can't be understated. And the new superintendent said that she'll be hearing from us with a nice intro letter. And then we'll be using that as a advocacy piece to reach out to our other partners at the county level. Greg Hassan, there's a bunch of them that are guys that we're definitely going to be reaching out to talk to about, just to let them know that the role that we like to have the superintendent play. So we can't understate how important Dr. Smith was to us. So all of our partners at the county will also get a copy of that intro letter. We have a new advocacy piece to hit the county council, as well as Montgomery County Construction and the BOE after the budget passes on June 1. We have no reason to think that there's no reason why the budget's not going to pass. Once that does, I mean, our funding's in place and we are moving forward. And our next advocacy piece for the county council, as well as the people at MoCo Construction and the school board, will be to get that gym doubled in size, essentially turn it on its side and give us the double size gym that all other county high schools have, as well as promote, again, the need for the wellness center. And those are two still very important pieces for us, but none as important as an immediate as the gym is. It's got to be factored in like ASAP. Next, we have a new draft white paper. So last white paper we did was just a couple years ago. It seems like yesterday, but we've got Link and I have put together a new draft white paper that shows the direction of the committee. So we'll be vetting that with all of our committee members, and then that's going to be our operating document from now until we do another one. So we're waiting to we'll put all that together over the next few weeks, get it vetted out by our committee, and then we'll also be obviously presenting it to the commissioners along with some of the other documentation that I've already mentioned. Keeping in mind that too, we plan on having our breakfast launch, our breakfast again, Poolsville Day. So Faith, as long if you're still on, count on us trying to do everything we can to get people there at the crack of dawn. But we definitely think we have a story to tell over the next few years, especially with the construction of the high school. And our plan is to make that an annual event. There's no reason why we shouldn't. And it's obviously a great way for the politicians to kind of hobnob with us and meet on a kind of friendly pro-Poolsville Day. Carrie already gave the update on White's Ferry. So, it's still work in progress. All the parties are committed to getting something done on it. Hopefully we have something more to report as time goes on here. And that's about it for one other thing for fair access too. As everybody knows, there's potentially a windfall in place that's coming in from the new budget deal that was made nationally. And Poolsville might be a beneficiary of a big chunk of change, over $4 million. Fair access is definitely going to want to play a role in working with the town and the community on trying to figure out what goals we can accomplish and what are appropriate for that money and make sure that the funds are used properly. There's a lot of need and we're going to want to make sure the community is fully engaged on helping us determine what's the most appropriate use for the money and making sure that we do use the money. So all in due time on that. We've just started the discussions there, and obviously it's going to take all of the community's input on that. That's it. Fair access in a nutshell.
Great, that was a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
And Jeff.
Well, mine will be short because we canceled our meeting until April. So we did not have a meeting for the Parks and Recs and Streets Committee.
Okay, very good. I'm just going to try. Bobby is on, but she said she can't talk. So let me see if there's something I can do. Doesn't look like it. We'll figure this out one of these days. Okay. So now
Carrie, is Bobby able to call in and maybe chat that, use the phone feature to call in?
She is trying that right now.
Okay. Well, Bobby, I know you can't hear us, but hello, Bobby. It's good to have you here.
So we'll move on now to approval of the minutes. So we have minutes from our business meeting on March 1st, and then we had a closed session that followed. So also on March 1st. Does anyone have any questions, comments, changes for either of those minutes? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. I read everything here, so yeah.
Thank you.
Both of them, yeah.
Great, thanks. We have
I'll second the motion.
and Ed is seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Next is public comment. We don't have anyone for public comment tonight. And we don't have any old business. We only have new business this evening, and we very specifically kept our agenda to these two kind of main issues of the day for us here. First one is hiring a town manager, and the second one is human resources. And from my way of thinking, they're all sort of intertwined. It's really kind of all a piece of the bigger issue of staffing, and that really being the most pressing need that we have. We really can't do a whole lot else unless we have the appropriate staff. So we are going to be needing to make some decisions, obviously, based on educating ourselves and, assessing what are our needs. We've, as we've already announced, we've decided to elevate our town clerk, Bobby, to be our acting town manager. We've also decided not to hire an interim manager, but instead we've decided to undergo a contract with our former town manager, Mr. Wade Yost. So he'll be acting as a consultant to our acting town manager, Bobby. And we're really putting our faith in Bobby with Wade's help and with our other staff, in Jay, and we're going to be able to really rest on the staff that we have, which are going to be able to help us through this period. And then hopefully simultaneously we can start the process of sort of our longer term goals. And it looks like maybe Bobby is trying to get in again now. So we'll see. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about a conversation that I had with Jim Peck from MML, or the Maryland Municipal League, last week. And I inundated the commissioners with a lot of information, which, I certainly didn't expect anyone to be able to go over everything by tonight. But it was really some enlightening discussions that I was able to have with him. They have a lot of good resources for us to utilize for just this situation. And he really talked a lot about the fact that a lot of towns find themselves, in this same place where, they've grown quickly. Over, maybe the last 10 years or so, we've really grown as a town. And obviously we can't compare ourselves to like a Rockville, but in terms of small towns, we've really grown. But we haven't added much to our staffing in order to, kind of meet that level of just, the sheer numbers of folks that we have in town. And thankfully, we have a staff that are able to do a lot with very little. But, this may very well be the time that we want to, take a look at, do we have things put in place the way that we want them to be? Or is it time to really assess what we have and where we're going? So one of the things that he really recommended, and I have to say he really talked me into it, is looking at doing an organizational assessment. And I took a look at a couple of towns, and I just wanted to put them on a document. And let me see if I can share my screen here. So here's the first town that I looked at as comp is the city of Brunswick. And it has a population of about 6,300-ish, which of course is a little bit more than where we're at. We're around 5,500. The budget there is at 7 million, which is also a little bit more than our budget, which is usually hovers around 4 million. the size of the office staff there, and they do have a police force. So you have to kind of put that aside since we obviously don't have our own police. But their office staff is still, they have 15 people as administrators. And what I thought was interesting is that they do have 3 sort of what I'm calling deputies, or it's kind of like mid-level management positions, on top of having a city clerk and an HR administrator, as well as a grants administrator. And I just took a quick peek at their budget. Their revenues for grants, they're almost bringing in $1 million in grants. So it's probably money well spent in having an administrator on their staff. And I just wanted to show you, this is their organizational chart, and this is fiscal year 21. So they probably came up with this last year, I would think. And again, they have a police department, so I'll just kind of hide that. But you know, under their main administrator, they also have a utility. They have water and wastewater, so they have you know, 10 folks over in that section. And then this is kind of what I'm talking about in terms of the sort of mid-level management. They have a public works director. And then they even have an assistant public works director. And then, you know, all of these folks who fall under them. They have an accountant on staff, a Main Street manager, which I would think is probably hitting on that economic development piece. Oops. And then, oh my gosh. Back to this one. And then they also have planning and zoning administrator with folks underneath them. And then over here is their city clerk. And then I just wanted to point out that they have one person in particular who is assigned to payroll and HR. And then the grants coordinator is down here as well. So all of these, you know, their entire staff together is about 40 people, with the administrative staff being about 15. And again, I'm not suggesting that this is what Poolesville needs, but I'm just showing a comp of similar size. And then the second one that I just wanted to show you is Middletown. So their population is a little less than ours. Their budget is a little bit less, but still, you know, fairly comparable. And they're interesting because their total number in staffing is actually very similar to ours, like just under 20 staff. But they don't have a water system, and they have a lot less parks. That when they just, I mean, we just have an amazing amount of parks for such a small town. It's pretty impressive, actually. And so they just don't need that amount of staffing for those 2 areas. But even so, they do still have an office staff of 10 people, which also includes a public works director, a zoning administrator, and an assistant public works director. So I just wanted to point out these comps. You know, like I said, it's, you know, it's not clear to me on the surface where we need to go, but I do think, I'm fairly convinced now that an outside person would have a better, you know, would be better positioned to, you know, really do a good job of assessing our need and telling us, you know, what do we look like? What is it that's working? What do we need to improve upon? So that's kind of what came out of my conversations about that. And I will exit out of that. Does anyone else have any comments about this issue of?
I think you have a great idea. I think we should absolutely get somebody to look at us and give us suggestions. I mean, I think that I've looked around at a bunch of towns too, and like it seems pretty clear that we don't have the we're not meeting all the staffing needs that we probably could. I mean, I've been saying I thought we should have 2 people to cover the town manager positions. I don't know what that looks like, whether it's a town manager, an assistant town manager, or a town manager and a finance person, or a planning person, or whatever. But I think that the town hall needs a little more help. I think, we've done it this way for a long time, and Poolsville has grown. We're in Montgomery County. People expect some services. Not that we haven't given them those services. We have, done a pretty good job for bare bones operation. But I think it's time to seriously look at, growing our staff accordingly. And I'm not saying that, I'm advocating becoming bloated and, like some municipality that has too many people. But I think that a little more help would be good.
This is Jeff. I'd like to add that, well, first, clearly, congratulations go to our town staff, because they are doing an incredible job with the few people that they do have. But I would like to very much maybe survey the town staff to find out if they feel like they're, doing 10 jobs of one, or just feel like they're overburdened, or they're, that kind of thing. So I'd like to hear it from the people to find out if they feel that additional staff is required, because we, at least for my 2 cents, I think we have to be cautious about spending tax money and hiring additional people, because once you hire, and you create an additional position, then you have to kind of fund that forever and ever almost. So I'd be, I'm not saying no, of course, but I really want to understand better from the people who are doing all the work how they see it.
Well, and then one of the points too, Jeff, I think is that I'm not like, I think what in my mind, what some of the things that they should be doing in town hall, they probably just don't have time to do. So it's almost like an unfair, if we were to go to with having one town manager, if you were to say, okay, run the town plus come up with a robust HR program, I mean, I would imagine they'd be like, well, it's going to be a while because we got so much going on. But I mean, things like that, I think that, having someone that works on grants specifically could pay for itself. Not that I'm suggesting we have a position just for that, but it could be like a planning person that does grants, maybe dabbles in finance. I don't know. That's something that I think an expert would be able to help us to understand. But I think there's no question our staff can do what they're doing now. My argument would be that maybe there's more things that we could be doing. That's all.
Yeah, that certainly is possible. I guess at the moment we don't know what we don't know. Can I rewind a bit on something? Well, I guess the answer is yes. Just ask myself a question. So I want to be clear that 2 weeks ago, we voted, well, I didn't vote, but other people voted no to bring Wade back. And so now, I guess we're reversing that. I don't know if we need to vote to reverse it or not. But so I want to be clear that we are bringing Wade back. And I don't know if we need to vote on that or not. So, because I've received a lot of, you go in the hardware store and people ask you, well, what's going on? And I want to be very open about things. So last 2 weeks ago, we did vote, or I didn't vote, but 3 other people voted no. And so
that's actually inaccurate. We didn't vote not to bring Wade back. We voted to interview for an interim town manager, including Wade. So I think there's a pretty distinct difference there.
There may
Well,
be.
actually, we did actually have a vote to not.
But according to the minutes,
you'll remember,
we did vote.
and that was denied.
Yeah.
We voted to look for an interim town manager.
And I think we're both right. I think what had happened is that there was a motion on the floor to bring Wade back as an interim manager, and that vote was that the vote turned out where it was voted against bringing Wade back as the interim town manager. And then I had put a motion on the floor, which was to have an open process of hiring an interim manager. And then that discussion was looking at, it wasn't a vote for or against Wade, but really it was looking at a clear, transparent process of hiring an interim person, whoever that interim person might have been. Then after that meeting, what came out was that there was a contract September 2019 in place for Wade to work with us as in a consultant capacity. And talking with Bobby, who's doing that work, is that being able to have Wade as that consultant, Wade being able to help out would be a good fit. It would work out well. And then doing that, there wouldn't be a need to have an interim town manager. And then we could focus our energy on having finding a full-time permanent town manager. And so I think some of the discussion that's going around in the community, there's been a picture that's been painted that those who didn't vote for Wade were not supportive of Wade. And then the other side of that, it wasn't about not being supportive of Wade, but it's looking at, because I was the one who put the motion on the floor, it was having an open process that whoever we were going to bring into an interim position. Fast forward, where we are right now is that Bobby is using the contract that's already in place to work with Wade as our consultant. And so I believe that's where we are. And so if we need to put a motion on the floor, I'm happy to put a motion on the floor to rescind what I have put out, seeing that we could focus on hiring a permanent person. If we can all be in agreement, or at least 3 out of the 5 could be in agreement, that Bobby working with Wade as a consultant, which is already in place prior to our first discussion, would work during this period of time while we focus our energy on getting the best possible candidate to be the town manager.
Right, so to be clear, maybe the motion could say that we are not hiring an interim manager. We can all agree on that. And we are continuing the contract with Wade Yost to consult with our acting town manager.
Yeah, I think you could even just have it say we're utilizing Wade as a consultant, because we've already agreed to make Bobby the acting town manager. So I think the motion could just be that the town of Poolesville continues to retain the consulting contract of Wade Yost.
So in bringing that to light, then we wouldn't need to have an interim town manager.
Yeah,
Because we have a town manager. We have an acting town manager.
right.
I'm okay with all that. I'm still a bit unhappy about the vote that took place 2 weeks ago. And I'm perfectly happy with people saving face by saying he's a contractor and not an interim town manager. I'm happy with that because of one reason, and that's because it accomplishes the same goal, right? So I guess
that's what I want to make sure we're clear on. Is it accomplishing the same goal?
yes.
I mean, we're still making Bobby our manager. That's my question, I guess.
The way I understand it, Bobby's acting town manager, and anything she has a question with or needs help with, she goes to Wade.
Perfect.
Because I just want to make sure that we have.
But decisions that are
We
being made.
we understand who's the boss.
But let me jump in. I think that it was clear from everybody's perspective where we are now is that the organizational chart is Bobby is the manager, the acting manager, whatever title you want to put in front of it. And everybody reports to her in some form or fashion. Wade is a consultant, not an employee, similar to me, similar to John Strong. And we do our tasks as assigned to Bobby, but Bobby makes the decision and it reports to you.
Yep. That's how I understand it.
Thanks, Jay.
So do we need a vote then to reverse the vote that took place last time? I mean, it sounds like to me, as per Jeff, what he held up in the minutes, that our last vote, not to belabor this, was to conduct a interim town manager search. Number one, it was rejecting 3-2 to have Wade be named or be approached as our town manager. And then the second vote was to conduct a search for an interim town manager. So
Yes, that's what it says.
do we need a motion and a vote to name Bobby our official interim town manager?
I
would say we do.
Well, I think the score on this would be Bobby's your acting until you change. So I don't think you have to do anything with her, but I do think you have to change direction as you have a task outstanding that you were going to hire an interim town manager. And you even came up with a little plan of how you're going to do that. I think you need to reverse course on that and say, we are not hiring an interim town manager in the form
Yeah,
of
I
a
agree.
motion.
So what I would agree to, is that we would, so let's just do it. I motion that we reverse course from pursuing a interim town manager, and that we stay the course where we are right now, as Bobby as acting manager, and she's able to fully utilize Wade as a consultant. That's my motion.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'll second that.
Very nice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think that was everybody. Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts on directing? I guess it's directing Bobby in collaboration with whomever she wants to collaborate with, to put together an RFP to solicit consultants in order to do a assessment.
I think that's a good idea.
So this is kind of an audit of the town functions and see if we really have a gap that needs to be filled by hiring somebody. Is that the idea behind it?
It's
Yep.
Yeah, the way I see it is I'm just been taking some notes, and it's just looking at what I heard so far is that we've grown over the years. I think that our staff has done a great job doing what we can do, but then it's also just looking at are there some areas, some blind spots that we might be missing that would improve things in terms of operational? Are there pieces of the puzzle that need to be there, or would someone who specializes in this work of organizational assessments and development might come in and say, hey, look, you guys got everything right where you need it. Everything's right in place. And so it's an outside, a lot of organizations that will hire someone to come in and do an assessment with recommendations of the organization to see where you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your opportunities, what are your threats, what are some areas that you're vulnerable, what are some areas that you're doing great and will grow. So really just assessing the whole organization with some recommendations of things that we can do to continue to go stronger. That's kind of what I'm hearing. And then for my own sake, I'm curious to look at what has our growth looked like over the last 5 years, over the last 10 years. And it's, have we always had the 19 employees or has that grown over time? Because I really don't know. I don't know where we started to how we got, where were we to get, how did we get here? And then where are we going? And are there some more pieces that we might need as we continue to grow? And even if we grow slow and strong, maybe there's another piece or another functionality that we're missing that might add value to what we're doing.
Yeah, what you said, I agree.
I maybe want to change my mind a little bit, because I think that possibly the first priority should be us to try and solicit for a permanent town manager. And then I think that I would kind of think that the permanent town manager would play a huge role in figuring out if there's any gaps in the staffing. So I think that new person should play that role of figuring out, we have enough people, we're short someone, there's a big function that we're not doing, we could be doing. Like Martin said, we don't know what we don't know. But I think a new town manager, I think that person should play that role. And I kind of feel our first priority is to get the new town manager, find a new town manager that we all love, and then put that person in the spot and they can run with it.
But how do you even write a job description when you're not even sure how you're going to break the job down? If it does require more than one person, I mean, I think I don't know. I just think you're setting yourself up for failure if you have someone come in and you say, we want you to do 100% of this stuff, but they're only capable of doing 75% or 70%. And then they're trying to play catch up the whole time. That, you know, they're starting from, you know, a position of being behind.
Yeah, surely that is a risk. And and hopefully when we have conversations, when we interview the candidates, that we can find out, and the candidates might say, you know, I've never really done that function. A different person has always done that in my previous positions, and you know, we kind of learn from that. And I don't think we're going to find someone who's going to, it might be, you know, the hero or Superman or something, but I don't think we're going to find someone who's going to be, you know, the very best at every single checkbox that we have on this list. Yeah. So anyway, I kind of think our first priority is to get a town manager.
I have to admit too, I'm with Jeff. I think we 100% have to,
You're freezing.
this group can spread itself too thin very quickly. I think we need to focus our energies on deciding how we're going to hire a town manager, and then hiring a town manager. And then once we bring that person on board, then we can look at these other facets, HR, potentially an assistant town manager every 5 years, and it's due. That said, how do we measure our town staffing? How do we measure our needs? I mean, we did this. This is part of the function of town hall. We can't do it. Obviously, we have to kind of start over with whoever our next town manager is going to be. But I'm against branching out in any other directions until we get a new permanent town manager, and then let them help us. And they're going to have expertise. Let them help us, guide us through where our gaps are, our HR gaps, our other gaps. So we know that we're going to have to be filling some positions or maybe creating positions. So don't hire the manager before you hire the general manager. Hire the general manager, then the general manager will help us hire the managers.
When we're looking at that town manager position, and it's where, I guess, because I have my own thoughts, but I'll throw the question out there first. And that is, when we think about what is it that we were looking for in the town manager, when I say we, not just the commissioners, but we being the staff, we being the community, and how will we come up with that feedback so that we can say, okay, this is the matrix that we want that person to fit in. How would you all recommend that we go about doing that?
Well, I started the write-up. I sent it to everybody.
I read through.
Okay, so, and clearly that's not the end of it. There needs to be a lot more added, and I was, you know, trying to kind of think about a lot of things and put it down in writing. So if that's the starting point, or maybe you just want to, you know, throw that away and start with a clean sheet, that's fine too. You know, sometimes it's just easier to edit from something that you have a starting point than anything else. But if that's useful, then we could, you know, use that as a draft.
Okay. What else? Because I'm just thinking too, like, what are those different sources? What I think about immediately, it's being able to consult with Bobby, listen to Bobby's thoughts, listening to those different divisions in terms of your different heads of your different heads of the departments. What are those needs? And then there will be more discussion with us in terms of what are those skill sets. All right, getting feedback from. I'd like to hear from Wade. What are some of those skill sets, those look-fors, those must-haves? I think going through, I think with Carrie, I like what you did earlier, talking to the gentleman with MML. I know I've been going through looking at different small towns myself, reading over job descriptions of different town managers, you know, just to familiarize myself with what are those skill sets for a person in that role. And I think we have to look at clearly identifying what are those needs for us here in 2021 of a town manager. And I think we have to identify what will be those sources of information to help make a really good decision so that we could package that together to say, this is what we're looking for.
Yeah, from my way of thinking, we're in a good place right now where we I mean, it doesn't necessarily always feel like it, but we're in a good place where we can see this as an opportunity to take a hard look at the big picture. You know, we have some good people in place who have a lot of, you know, long-term experience. And so, you know, we can put our faith in them to, you know, kind of keep the ship afloat. And in the meantime, we can, you know, take a little bit of time and really evaluate, and not us, but someone outside looking in can really evaluate what we need, you know, what our needs are, because it's hard to necessarily know when you're in the thick of it, especially when we have different ideas and different agendas. It's, you know, it's always going to be helpful to have, you know, someone else, especially someone who does this for a living.
Yeah, if you get someone that comes in and says, you know, like, I think you guys would do really well to have like 2 positions, and one covered like points A, B, and C, and one, you know, D, E, F, and G. Like that, I mean, that's going to play into our hiring. It's going to play into our recruitment. I mean, like if they feel strongly we should have the government should be divided, the staff should be divided in a certain way, then that's going to obviously dictate how we hire, who we look for. It seems to me that the smart way to do it is to do it on the front end.
I mean, here's an example is human resources, right? I think what a lot of people don't understand is we have none. We don't have an HR rep. We don't have an HR contractor like we contract with legal or with engineering. We don't contract with anyone. We don't have a consultant. You know, here's our personnel manual.
Yes, I read it from top to bottom.
That's it.
It only took a few minutes.
This is it.
Doesn't take long.
And maybe there was a time when that made sense, that, you know, that was appropriate. But I mean, you know, when we put so much on our staff, you know, on our high level staff, it's, you know, it's impossible to do everything.
And I think Ed had a good point. Like, we might have blind spots. We might have things that, like, someone might come in and say, you know, you guys as a town aren't doing these few things here that you could be doing that would provide great services to the residents, that would provide revenue for you, that would, you know, get you grants. I don't know. I guess I just feel like we should do it on the front end and figure out like what we want. Like so we're dictating what we want in a town manager and possibly a different position too. Like, do we want someone that just focuses on staff and keeping the trains running, and somebody else that you know, focuses on HR, for example, or finance or planning or whatever? But I'd like to hear suggestions on that from someone that you know, that this is their specialty. They're educated on this. They know about this.
Well, I looked up a couple of online not online, outsourced HR functions. And I know that there are several that are not very expensive. You can hire them kind of on a monthly basis, on rather an annual basis, and they'll do an HR audit. They'll put together the policies, and they can all do that somewhere else, and then, you know, kind of work with us on that. If that's something that the commissioners want to do, I'd be happy to, you know, take the first step on that. But I still think that our first priority needs to be hiring a town manager. If among us, we want to put together an HR thing, you know, or find an outsource company that can, you know, step in right now and put some policies together for us that we're probably lacking, you know, I think we can do that. We can kind of walk and chew gum at the same time. But I would put our priority in terms of finding a town manager. I guess I'm just, you know, starting to be repetitive. Yeah.
I agree with you, Jeff. I think our priority, like whatever we do, you know, on the side, we have to have a focus on finding a town manager and recruiting a good quality, successful town manager. But I think, like you said, we can walk and chew gum. So, you know, while this process is happening, unfortunately, because it's government, like, it's not the quickest process. We have to vote on, like, you know, allocating money. We have to vote on a company to use. We have to vote on, you know, so, but while that's happening, I think you could probably have somebody come in here, you know, within a week's period of time or 2 weeks period of time and crank out a report, you know, suggesting, where some of our weak spots might be, some of our blind spots, and suggesting like where we could beef up our staffing, or maybe we don't need to. I don't know.
I think I think the first thing that we would need to do is come up with a priorities list. All right. And I'm hearing a couple of different things. There's some things that might happen at the same time. But I think we all agree that we definitely need a town manager. And I hear with Jeff and Jim what you're saying in terms of not to have the one manager before you have the other, right? And having a person who could be a part of that process in terms of a person who would do the work with the outside organization that would come in, because that really wouldn't be a role for any of us to play, to work with that person, discuss things with that person who's coming in, evaluating and assessing the organization. And then I also hear Carrie Martin, I hear you guys saying too, is that how do we know we're getting the right person to do the job, where there might be some things that skill sets that we might be missing that the person doing the job needs to have. All right. So it's an interesting place to be in. What I think of first is even what we call as a needs assessment. What are the needs of the organization? So we go back to a town manager. I know one of the needs of the town manager is to be have very strong leadership skills, the ability to work with the staff, ability to be an effective communicator, the ability to manage multiple projects at one time. All right. And I think some of those things need to be hammered out first. Even right now, if we could look at what do we think we need in a town manager, there's a description on the books of a town manager. So I think that needs to be reviewed and then vetted through, not just us, but perhaps getting feedback, as I said before, feedback from our division managers, get feedback from Bobby, feedback from Preston, feedback from Matthew, feedback from Andrew. And then I think as we also look at what are those universal core responsibilities of a town manager, and we could look at some of that from the various towns, right? We could also, I think, we have Wade as a consultant, feedback from Wade. Wade, you did this for a long time. Now that, at this point, what might be some things that would be different? What might be some recommendations as you're continuing to grow and move forward? All right. So I think that we need to identify what would be our next step and then start coming up with an action plan.
Or are we going to conduct the search ourselves, or are we going to hire a search firm?
That has to be decided.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on it because I know a search firm is expensive, and we're not paying it. It doesn't come out of my wallet; it comes out of the taxpayer's wallet. So I'm always sensitive about that, but I want to do the best thing. So I'm not sure what other people feel, but I think what Ed said is right. We need to get our steps together because we seem to be going a little bit in circles. So opinions on hiring a search firm or opinions on doing it ourselves? Open. Nobody has an idea.
Just to clarify on Ed's position, I just want to say something. I want to say one thing about Ed's position. I don't think that we're talking about anytime soon. We're not talking about our non-front office staff. I think our non-front office staff needs to be put back in under the leadership of a good, strong leader. I think they need to know that they have the support of that leader. And I think if anything we do, we just need to evaluate the pay of those guys versus anything else. I don't think there's any holes there, and I don't think we need to spend any time on it either. I do want to evaluate their pay situation because this obviously was a bad year for them. I want to make sure that those guys get treated right. Really, let's just pinpoint it. We're looking at if we're going to add another person in the front office, and if we're going to add some sort of HR specialist or hire or outsource an HR specialist. I don't think we need to go any further than that. I don't think we need to go any more broad-based. I'm okay with gathering everybody's opinion, but I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on it. I'd much rather see us hire a town manager, and with that town manager and our other team that's in place, which includes John Strong, Jay Gullo, Bobby, Wade, and and input from the commissioners, hire the right town manager, and then have that person assist us to decide if we're going to reframe our front office. That, I don't think we need to go further than that. And I think that for this group, this is a lot on our plate to be able to do that and to do it right. So I'm hoping that we don't get too outwardly focused and too broad-based. Let's just on the process for hiring a town manager, making sure we have a good job description, and then working with that partner to help us figure out what the next is. And as usual, it's crickets after I say something.
Well, no, I'm still not clear.
Some of us need processing time to
The very
listen,
first,
think about what you said, take notes. You can't see my notes, but I am taking notes and asking questions. So it's called processing time.
I can see your other camera in there. I see you guys.
yep, I'm just not clear about what the very first step is, right? So I guess we're going to write the job description. We're going to either do a search on our own, or we're going to hire a search firm to do the search. And then they're going to give us candidates.
Right.
And we're going to, a whole bunch of us, we're going to one by one interview the person or persons, and eventually make a selection. But I think my original question, are we going to do the search ourselves? Or are we going to hire a
You guys, I'm really torn on, and I want to know what I want. Oh, good, Jeff.
Jim, you were cutting in and out. We didn't hear you.
You froze, Jim.
You keep freezing.
I'm really torn. I know. Sorry, guys. Everybody's on Netflix at my house.
Tell them get off. You're doing important business.
Here, I'll try to come in through my phone. I'm going to come in through my phone.
Okay.
I'll come back. See you guys in a minute.
Okay.
Back to what Jeff, what you were saying. I think, you know, I'd like to hear the discussion. I'd like to hear Ed's thoughts and everyone else's thoughts. But my initial reaction would be to try to get outside help on this. I mean, I just don't think we have the reach and the power. I mean, I think this has to be a search that's not just like, you know, conducted in town. I think we need to conduct a national search. The person should live close to Poolsville, if not in Poolsville. But I just don't know that we, you know, 5 volunteers have the time and the all the bandwidth and the resources needed to do this ourselves. And I'm very sensitive about spending money too. Like the price tag bothers me, but I just think that it probably gets us, at least in theory, you know, a better candidate or a better pool of candidates, I should say.
Yeah, I'm perfectly okay with that. It seems like we haven't really just made a decision yet. So
no, it's a very important. I mean, that's like, you know, one of the first steps of the process.
Yeah.
So have we decided against getting a firm to come in and tell us what suggest what our needs might be on the front end? Is that like a non-starter at this point?
Well, for me, it is, yes. So I think we should. Our top priority should be getting the town manager in place. Yes.
I think there's some pieces there. I think there's some pieces that have to work together. My first question is going back to our needs, right? Who's gathering the information and sharing that information? Who's identifying those needs? In terms of, yeah, we know we need a town manager. That's the obvious piece, but then identifying what are those strengths, what are those must-haves that the town manager needs to be able to come in here and do, right? What's the source of that information? I guess that's my question.
Yeah.
I think we can start with the existing job description, and then I think we should poll the town staff. They know better than anybody. If there's any gaps in that job description, and start with that.
I think it's hard to go through the process of hiring a town manager if at least some of us are questioning what kind of town manager. What does a town manager look like? Does the town manager also the HR administrator? Is the town manager also the grants writer? Is the town manager also the finance director? You know, I mean, it's just that it kind of goes back to
Yeah, like
my thinking.
if I know I have to have one town manager only, one person to do this job, I'm going to be looking for a different person than I am if we're going to have two people do some of those duties and divide them up. Because if I have to find one person that does everything pretty well, you know, versus like one person that's like particularly good at like HR or particularly good at finance or particularly good at planning or whatever the case may be. I mean, it's two different people. You're looking for someone that's either well-rounded and can do a little bit of everything, or you're like drilling down a little bit more into specialties. And, you know, if we don't want to use an outside company, I mean, maybe we come up with something ourselves and like try to figure out what we're looking for. But I think
my take is that we have to separate the HR function. We should hire an outsourced HR person like we have with, like, as Jay mentioned, a town engineer and a town attorney, and Wade is a contractor. So I'm perfectly okay if we want to decide to hire an outsourced HR person, and then that outsourced HR person would report to the town manager. So that's one huge chunk of knowledge and expertise that the town manager doesn't have to have, but they has to know, you know, how to deal with the outsourced HR person. And I think the outsourced HR person can put together a lot of procedures and policies that we're maybe don't have at the moment. Put them in a book and everybody has to read and sign it. And they kind of stay there, right? And a lot of procedures and policies are really in place if something goes wrong, not so much if everything goes smooth.
So the way I envision that is I agree with part of what you're saying, Jeff. I agree that we should probably have someone come in, one of those companies you were referring to, and sort of put together some kind of a plan for us. But, and again, I haven't totally thought all this through, but in my head, I was thinking that we could have someone on staff be like the HR point of contact once the robust system is set up and like, you know, we're in place, you know, somebody, because it seems to me if an employee has a problem, you know, they're less likely to go to a complete stranger than they are someone that they one of their peers that they work with some of the time. But that's my take.
Yeah, I agree. There probably would be a point of contact in the office. And then when that point of contact comes with a question they don't really know the answer, they would call up the outsourced HR person, and the HR person would give them the expert answer. So that's kind of the way I see it. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, is anybody going to make a motion that we hire I forget what it is now, a consultant to do the town manager search?
Well, I think the way that has to work is we have to all agree to make that's what we want to do. And then we have to make a motion to hire a particular company probably.
Yeah, I haven't interviewed any companies to find out who would be a good one to conduct a nationwide search for a town manager. But I think we need to get off first base here because we just seem to be spinning around.
Okay, well, I'll just go on record and say, like, I gave my reasons before. I'm in favor of working with an outside agency.
To conduct the search, right? And bring in candidates. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Guys, that's where I've been torn on this the entire time, is what is the best way to hire a new town manager? Last time, without getting into the details of it, it didn't work. I mean, it didn't work for a variety of reasons. And we kind of have to look at why it didn't work and what's going to be different this time. Hopefully it's just a different company that gives us a different look. But it definitely did not work last time in my book to the degree that we needed it to.
Right. Jamie, I would agree. Now I wasn't a commissioner at that time, but looking back and just kind of from what I understand is why I'm saying the first step, I think, is we have to be clear as a commissioner group of what is it that we're looking for in a town manager. We have to be clear on that, because if I'll use you, Jim, as an example. If I say, hey, I just want a house, well, I got to answer some questions about what I'm looking for in a house. I just want a house. Well, if I just say I want a house, you're going to ask me like a lot of questions. So now you go to a search firm, executive search firm. Hey, we want a town manager. All right, great. I'm gonna get you a town manager. What do you want in a town manager? I need somebody who can lead people and build relationships with staff. Okay, that's great. What else do you need? And that's why I keep saying is first, what I think is the first step, we have to be clear on what are the qualities, what are the characteristics, what are the skills that we need in a town manager. We might look at that job description and say, yep, that's it, 100%. no change. Or we might look at it and say, hey, yeah, you know what? We need to add, it's missing this, it's missing that. So when we sit down with a search firm, we have to be very clear and say, we're looking for a town manager who has the following qualities, the following skill sets. And so that's why I say that we also need to get some of that stakeholder input so that we've heard the voices. You don't have to spend months doing it, but spend some time really looking at, hey, what is it that you need to, as you're doing this pieces? What are the critical aspects of the job? Right? We know you need somebody who can work with different groups of people, someone who understands city planning, right? Because as we look at what are those challenges and issues that are on the way, we need a strong town manager who can take the ball, run with it, but they know how to run the play, whatever the play might be. So I would propose that our very first step, we identify who are the stakeholders we need to hear from. We all need to maybe spend some time independently, really thoroughly going through the job description and see, do we think there's something that's missing? Because if you don't do your homework, any firm can come in and say, no problem, I got you covered. I'll find you a town manager. And then you right back where you started from. You say, oh man, that wasn't what we were really looking for. So that's all I'm saying. Identify a timeline. What is it that we're looking for in that person? And then we got to say, what are we looking for in a search firm? Right? Because you just don't want any search firm to come in and bring you a bunch of candidates, and then you got to pick the top 3 out of a bunch of group that's maybe not that good. So sorry for the dramatical pieces, but I think if we can identify, so we don't keep going round and round, maybe we can agree on clarifying what we think we might want at this point in a town manager, and then go through and see who else, whose voices have we not heard. All right, hear those voices, sit down, even in our own committees. I go back to sustainable pools, but hey, look, what do you think is important in work that you do in interacting with a town manager? All right, so I mean, those are my thoughts. I think if you have a clear picture of what you want or what you think you want, then you're better prepared to have a discussion with a search firm, and you can hold the search firm accountable and say, none of these candidates are matching the things that we're looking for. Bring us more candidates, right? Because hopefully we won't keep doing this over and over. We'll get out and get the best person to could do the job. And then I think you go in, you get a good person on board, and then you say, okay, hey, this is the person that's the best. Now we work together to do some of the organizational assessments. I think in tandem, I do think you have HR consultant looking at some of those policies, everything that Jeff said, those pieces. I think that's the gum we could chew while we're walking, putting these other pieces together. I definitely think that at some point we definitely need to have someone that could come in and do an organizational assessment. Where we might have debate is the timing of that, but what we can't keep debating is what do we need in a town manager, and let's get the ball rolling.
Well, I think what we need to do is take the existing job description and possibly add to it.
Yeah, can we kind of cut this, Jeff? I don't mean to cut you off, but how
Yeah,
about
please.
let's take the existing, just trying to get the ball moving forward. 2 prongs that we need to go here. One is we probably should work with Jay Gullo and to determine, and either Carrie or Martin, somebody run with the ball on determining if first we decide as a group, are we going to go with a national search firm? So that's probably yes, and we have to figure out who to engage there. The second thing should be take the existing town manager job qualification sheet, job description, circulate it amongst town staff to see if there's something that needs to be taken out or added in. And then also send it to those people that you guys have already reached out to, maybe the town manager for Brunswick, maybe the town manager for Middletown, to use your 2 examples, and to see if they see something that's missing from that job description, or maybe get theirs and compare it to ours. But do that over the next 2 weeks. So then 2 weeks from now, we have hopefully a vetted out town manager job description and some ideas on who to use for the search. Fair enough?
Yeah, fair enough. And I think I'd personally like to see us come up with a timeline tonight too, like that sets goals of like, by this date we should have this done, by this date we should have this done. Doesn't have, we don't have to stick to it, but like I think, you know, the process was done, you know, probably as efficiently as it could have been done last time, but I think it could have been done better at the same time. You know, I think that if we have to have special meetings on off nights to like just to get a simple approval of like, let's allocate money for a search or something like that, we should do that. Like this does need to be a priority in my opinion. Like, and I don't want to see this. I don't want to see the new town manager start in 6 months. I'd like to see them start, you know, he or she start like, you know, much sooner than that. And obviously I'd like to see a really good candidate. So I'd love to see us put together some kind of a loose timeline tonight for expectations of when, you know, certain dates should be met. I'd also like, while I'm rambling here, I'd like to see us discuss here in an open meeting, like what, if anything, we should do with the person that Carrie found. It looks like I think everyone agreed here. It looks like a really, really strong candidate. You know, if that's someone that's, you know, if we're not interviewing people for 2 more months and that's someone that's going to find another job, you know, do we want to interview that person beforehand? Because maybe we get lucky and we don't need to pay for an outside search. I don't know. I don't know if that's something we even want to do, just to interview one person and not interview a host of people, but certainly seems like it's something worth discussing.
I'm in favor of, I'd be perfectly happy with interviewing this person, but I'd like to see our revised town manager job description come into place. So
I think that's got to be done first for sure. Yeah. We got to know what we're hiring. We got to know what we want.
I would,
No,
I would volunteer to take the job description and circulate it around and make any updates to it, working with Jay, so that we have something that we can show to a person and say, can you do this stuff?
Yeah.
But
Good,
I think
thank you.
it's important. I think it's important if we get, we may still want to circulate that to other town managers just to
Yes,
see
of course. Yes, yes.
Good
what
idea.
we're missing. But
Yeah.
I think between Bobby, Wade, Jay, and John, we can look at abridging the current one and updating it, and then also talk to some outside sources. But I'd like to see all that happen in the next 2 weeks. Like by the time we meet again, we've got one that we've agreed upon.
Yeah, we got to keep this moving.
Yeah,
And then,
I like that.
Jay, is it within your realm to come up with some municipal search companies again?
I did. I have
He gave us some.
I gave a list, and I think the thing would be is they'll probably all be interested, but we probably just should pick ones that have good recommendations and then maybe talk to 2 or 3 of them to find out what the cost is, what the parameters are. In the end of the day, they're probably all close to being the same.
Yeah, you guys, the normal, you guys, is still, it's 20% of the first year salary is a pretty normal. You can count on that being the cost for this search if we go through a professional company.
So do we want to, I mean, it seems to me it gets a little bit bureaucratic if we, you know, if we have to like all agree on like picking 3 companies, and we have to take a meeting to like meet with those 3 companies. I mean, can we delegate this? Like, I don't know if you're a lawyer, Jay, not like a search company vetter, but like, would you be willing to like just ask around and say, I think the best choice, you know, they're not hugely different, but the best choice is choice A or whatever?
What I think, I would be happy to do the legwork on that, but at the end of the day, I don't know that I would be happy, you know, telling you which choice to pick. What happened last time, this is a professional service, so you don't have to bid those. We can pick who we want to pick. And I think that I should work with, after I get the legwork done, with 1 or 2 commissioners, so it's not all of you. And you know, you deal with these people, because the big problem is this becomes a relationship with the person that you're doing the headhunting with. They need to interface with you all, not with me. And so I just want to be the connector, and then you all talk to them and get the feedback. I don't think you're going to get around an interview, if you will, maybe on the last 2 or 3 or whatever. You're going to have to feel comfortable with what they're selling before you say do it.
Okay.
So I can help if somebody, you know, Carrie and I can do it, or Jeff, whoever wants to take some time and narrow it down to the ones that are available, convenient, close, those kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah,
I'd
Go ahead,
I would
Jim.
like to see if there's.
I'm happy to help Jay if I can.
I'd like to see if there's any surrounding towns that have recently hired a town manager to see who they had for their town managing process. I know that that's kind of a crapshoot, like calling up these various towns. But if anybody has had any connections with any of these town towns or town managers. I'd like to hear what they have to say if there is one that stood out. Like, did they say, yeah, they actually gave us 8 candidates. They were all very well qualified. They matched up to what we were looking for. They all arranged all the interview process. If that's possible, I'd love to see some sort of local recommendation process through it. If it can't happen, it can't happen.
I can do that.
So the goal then, if I'm understanding what everyone is saying correctly, is by the time we meet next, we will have a list of 2 or 3 or 4 potential national search firms to approach for interviews, or do we want Jay, whoever works together, Jay and Carrie, or whomever is working on this, to come up with those 3, and then maybe the next meeting we interview the 2 or 3, or how? I guess I'm unclear on the next step.
I think what I'll do is, if you want, because I can probably do it more efficiently, the legwork again. I can get the recommendations that I got from MML and do a quick search with them and match that with anybody who's recently hired a high-level position like that in Maryland and see if those cross-reference. And then I just call them and say, this is what we're up against. Would you guys be interested? If so, how would you proceed? I mean, send me what you'd normally send me. And then I can give that to whoever is working with me.
Okay.
And then I would think at the next meeting, you're not going to be doing this interview in a public session. You're going to be
Right.
doing this interview in a closed session after you agree on the job description. So I think we can get it to the point where you have the finalists by the time you have the job description. And then your next step would be, let's talk to them and set up a meeting with them. If that works.
Okay, and then
And I'll have the job description. I'll start on that right away. I don't exactly know when I'll have it finished, but certainly in 2 weeks or less.
And then do we want to bring, I keep forgetting his name, the gentleman that Carrie found, do we want to have that person come in sometime sooner for a closed session, just for an interview, and then that could count, if
I think we should do get our other things in line first to make
Okay.
sure, hey, this is, so we know what we're looking for. And then Jeff, you and I could talk offline and commit to a time, and we could work together.
Okay. I still think if we can, if there's any way to short circuit the process and we find Superman, by interviewing the gentleman that Carrie spoke with, I'm all in favor of that. Absolutely. Right. We might be asking the wrong questions, but who knows? We might just, find Superman.
Well,
yeah.
I think Ed's got a good point, though. I think if we have a rough draft, like, Jeff, if you and Ed come up with a rough draft, at least like something to say to this person, this is what we're looking for.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
it's not fair to them if we're telling them, there's 20 things we're looking for, but there's actually 24 or something like that. And
Yeah,
those
sure.
other 4
Fair
things are
enough.
important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so at least if we get some kind of a rough draft, that we all agree is in the neighborhood.
Yep.
Like I would be in favor of what you were alluding to, Jeff, is maybe trying to just jump the gun and like try to interview this person, and if they don't blow us away, then they just go into the regular pool of candidates and we interview other people. But if they're just amazing and holy wow, this person's great, then we talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I don't see
So
any
why
harm in that.
don't we wait? Why don't we try to have the in 2 weeks, hopefully we have the job description that we can all mostly agree on. We can talk about that offline.
Okay.
And then if we're all good with that, then maybe we can approach this person to talk to them sometime after 2 weeks. And then
So our next business meeting is in 3 weeks. It's on April 5th. So would we be planning a special meeting? Just a question.
Yeah,
I don't know
I think I think this is a pretty important task. So if we had to fit another meeting in between, I'm certainly okay with that.
yeah, I'm okay with that.
So the 29th.
Seems worthy.
I think
So
it's
I'm
going to
looking
take
at-
3 weeks to get this plan together. I don't know what we're going to meet for in between. I'd like to see that proper vetting of the job description. I'd like to get Wade and and Bobby and have those guys be sorted out a little bit to make sure that we have a good, that job description is thoroughly vetted, especially with Wade getting his feet wet and probably picking up some ideas based on what hasn't happened over the last year or a year and a half or whatever it's been. And then give Jay the time it needs to do what he needs to do too.
Does someone need to call Wade and tell him that he's hired? Or has that already been done?
I think Bobby's already been working with him because the contract's already been in place.
Okay,
Yeah,
great,
that's handled.
Yeah.
great. Okay, good.
So I agree with Jim though. I think that if it's, I'd rather invest the time having a really strong description, right, and really have that time that's vetted and not rushed through. I also think, like, I'm just making my own list of people who should lay their eyes on that job description. So I think we need time to do it. I think that feedback, vetting it through the different staff is important. I also think, and you could tell me if you think I'm out of line, but I think that at least the chairs of the different committees or boards should be able to lay their eyes on it. That voice should be heard. And I know that some people are for what I'm about to say, and some people are against it. But even I know there are residents who like to share their opinion, share their thoughts. And while the residents won't make the hiring decision, I do think the voice should be heard because at the end of the day, we all represent the residents. And so if there's a way for residents to say, hey, this is what I think should be in this is what I think you guys should look for, right? There should be some way that input can be shared with us, whether that's through an email, whether that's if, just like when we did that town hall, that unofficial community conversation where there was an issue and people wanted to talk about. Maybe we have another one where maybe 2 other commissioners do it. And the focus is really whoever moderates it keeps it focused on those qualities of what we were looking for in a town manager. And so is I think that because we are elected is that we're representing those voices, and not everybody can make it to a 7 o'clock meeting, twice a month and handle do a 3-minute slot.
I think as soon as we get this in a reasonable shape, well, it's a good idea to post it on the town website as a draft, and if folks want to make comments and provide some constructive input. Yeah, sure, absolutely, great idea.
And to set the parameters of the time frame to share that. Like I love the fact when we opened up and people emailed their thoughts and the way that was put together to go back and read through that feedback. I thought that was helpful.
Good.
So perhaps our next steps is that Jeff and I, you and I will go ahead and start working on the draft that you started with, and then you and I could talk. We could set some timelines, and I'll block it out on my calendar, and we do what we got to do. And then at the same time, those other pieces, Jay, you're doing what you need to do, and then Martin, because you asked about a timeline. So if our next meeting is April 5th, and then today's the 15th, that gives us plenty of time to come back to the meeting where we would have had a draft of the job description that's based on feedback from those different stakeholders. And then Jay would have had time to come back and say, hey, these are some companies that you guys might want to consider. So then at that next meeting, we can go over that information of the description, discuss the companies, and then maybe that next step is at that meeting, we can decide, hey, these are the companies we want to be able to present to us what they can do and why we should hire them to do our search.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
All right.
Harry, what do you think?
It sounds like we got a plan.
Yep.
Jim, what do you think?
I'd like to be the one I'd be happy to reach out to the other municipalities and speak to. I remember basically all of them and all the ones that were like kind to us. I'd like to reach out to them and see. I'd like to shoot them both our town manager description to see what holes they see in it. I'd like to get their version of the town manager description to see what they have, and then I'd like to see if they have any experience with a hiring company. And we can get that information, who it is and what their results were. And that's easy for me to do. I could probably call up 8 to 10 like-sized towns in Maryland to see if there's anything there. if we want Jay to do it, fine, but I think it's probably easier for me to shoot what we have over to them, see what they have it come back to us, see if there's any holes in our game, and see if they have any recent experiences.
Right.
I like you doing that at least because it sounds like you can talk to the decision makers while I'll be talking to the administrative people.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it. Most of the people are still in the place when I was president, and they're going to be receptive. I know.
I think those ones that Carrie pulled, I think those were good ones also. I think it was Middleton and Carrie was the other one that you looked at. Brunswick. Yeah.
You guys, here's a critical factor is managing a police force or not managing a police force. The towns that don't have a police force, they're like us. The ones that do have a police force, they're different than us.
Mm-hmm.
So,
There's also quite a lot to choose from in the emails that I sent earlier. Those all came from MML, so
Yeah.
a lot of them are in Maryland.
Yeah, I'll just be drawing concentric circles away from Poolsville that likely do not have a police force. And I know that's going to yield 7, 8, 9 different candidates as you go throughout Maryland.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, it sounds like we're moving in the right direction. Is there anything that we're missing?
no, we just need all 3 weeks to get it done.
So Jim, when you go through and you kick that draft to other people, the one that exists now, can
Yes.
you get that back? Can you get the feedback to Jeff and I as we fine tune our look for?
Yeah, and it'll be twofold again. It will be what addresses our actual job description, and then I'll get their job descriptions as well.
Yeah, because Jeff, you and I could use that information.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
to do what we got to do.
Yeah.
Can do.
Bobby, do you want to chime in with anything? Are you there? She might not be there.
I don't see a microphone for. Oh, well,
Yeah,
maybe.
she dropped off a while ago, I think.
Oh,
That was the other one that she dropped off, but maybe she could hear us, but she might not have that.
She
That-
said she could hear. She texted me that she could hear us, but
Yeah.
Oh.
Bobby said, "Don't count her out." You don't mess with Bobby. Carrie, maybe you can see if Bobby wants to text you, see if we're missing anything.
yeah, she's not. I think she might be gone.
okay.
Well, it sounds like we're moving in a good place. Jeff, how's your day tomorrow for me to give you a call?
Tomorrow might be a bit full.
What you got? You helping to run a school, man? You got 1,000 kids that you got to take care of.
Oh yeah, I didn't tell you, or maybe I did. I am now a COVID vaccinator.
Hey, cool.
So I took the training through the fire department, and I'm still waiting for my certification, my license to come. But I took the training, and I actually administered quite a number of COVID vaccinations at the White Oak Recreational Center on Friday.
Now, on behalf of Fair Access, we need you to get it out here, all right? And let's get something opened out here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish I was the organizer of the sites, but
Me
Yeah.
too.
I'm a very small cog in a growing wheel. So yeah.
All right. Well, I'll text you. Maybe if tomorrow's slam, maybe Wednesday.
Well, I'm sure I can start on something tomorrow. Just
Okay.
I have a couple appointments tomorrow and Wednesday, so we'll fit it in.
All right.
Does that cover everything we have to talk about for HR and for town manager hired for tonight?
I think it does.
Okay, I want to just bring up one other quick thing, just for a quick discussion or contemplation. I saw, obviously I read the water report that John Strong sent. I'm still of the opinion personally that we should get, someone from MDE, some outside person. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, Bobby.
To come in and just sign off on the water thing, just so we have a second set of eyes, a second opinion, just to cover our whats, because this is such an important matter that, I don't care who the person that came up with the original report is. I think we should have a second opinion, just because it's this is something that could come back to really burn us. So I'd be in favor of having somebody like from MDE or whoever it is. Maybe we'd have to have Wade look into that or something like that, that's hiring or there's probably a free service that does it, to come in and just tell us, yes, these numbers look right. You look like you're good to go.
Let me jump in on that before we get too far. We met with the staff, and that was what the email that was sent out to you afterwards kind of following up. And it's like a lot of things are seeping out before they're done. But what we thought we would do internally would be John working with the staff, Bobby dealing with the finance aspect, Wade bringing the historical piece, and then I'm going to put it all together into a report for you all. That would be the report that you would eventually want looked at or audited or whatever, so that it's not just pieces. And we thought it would be important that that report be presented in writing to you all, and then have a presentation so that we don't get lots of comments on the written word, but a presentation to you all jointly with the Planning Commission. So the key players that need to know it, and we call it water, but we're really just focusing on sewer, right? The sewer part of it. And so all of you would hear it at the same time. And the problem that we ran into was the way it's been laid out. It didn't give you the historical bridge from where we were to how we got here, and then how does it affect the finances at that same period of time, so that you can go ahead. And then if you like to want to make some more reviews of those things, you'd have a concise report to send off. Right now, anybody you asked to come in would be talking to the same players. It would just be kind of difficult. So I was hoping I'd give you something you could transfer to anyone and say, I see their facts, their figures. It makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It'll be kind of scientific a little bit too. So we hope to get that done, and we will before the next Planning Commission. Now that doesn't mean right before, but like in the weeks before the next Planning Commission, and everybody can be included. More of a listening session so that you hear what has to be done, and then can go from there.
Can I make a suggestion on that, Jay?
Please.
I know that people consider, the staff considers like the water piece of it, like, sort of like open and shut book, like we've got plenty of water. But can you just address that, because there's a lot of residents asking, like, are we going to be good if there's a drought, all that stuff? Can you just address that so that like someone can look at that too, and just so we're all covered, we're thoroughly vetted.
Yeah, what I think it's going to be is a separate piece.
Yeah,
but it can follow the same methodology without going as far as the finances, because that's another rabbit hole. So this one would get to the finance and stop, and the other one could do with capacity and stuff like that.
Right. Okay. Right. And that's what most of the questions are. I'm not getting a lot of questions about like, how come you're subsidizing water, but I'm getting more questions about, do we have enough water? Are we going to be able to flush our toilets? We're going to be okay on wastewater. Those are the questions I'm hearing. So if we can have those addressed and then checked by an outside source, then I think we're covered, and people can have confidence.
Right. I think that's good.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for that.
Jay, do you feel like that we're going to need an outside source, or are they just going to be checking our statistics?
I think that they'll probably just be checking our statistics. There is a water audit done, and that's why I really want this presentation to happen, because when we had our internal meeting, everybody brought their piece of the puzzle together, and none of us knew that. For example, Bobby indicated that every year there is a water audit done by our auditors to show water, just, pumped, water sold, what the difference is. And so, I guess it's, if we start with a comfort level that you can say, all right, now I understand, then you can question it. Right now, even we were questioning each other's data because we didn't have it. So I don't know, the idea would be, I'm sure it can be done, and there'll be certain, I don't think it would be, we don't need to go down this far, but I don't think it would be MDE. I think there would be sources that we could deal with that would do those things, but you may find that it's not necessary on certain things, or maybe you will. So we'll get that to you in the next couple of weeks is the plan.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, I think we might be done, because I think Bobby is having technical difficulties and can't get back in.
All right. Should I make a motion to adjourn? Does anybody have anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had one thing I wanted to bring it up. I had a resident contact me with, in fact, the lady was Joy Zucker-Timon. I don't know if I'm saying the name right. Anyway, I think we all know Joy because she was on the public comments once or twice. Anyway, she sent me some feedback on the COVID plan. So I'm going to read through that and where appropriate, incorporate that into the COVID plan, and then I can circulate that and we can then adopt or put that in place. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks,
Great.
Jeff.
I can't imagine, like, after reading that plan, I can't imagine you missed anything, but maybe you did.
It was a great job, Jeff. Thank you for putting
Yeah.
that together.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yep.
All right. I make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second, Jeff.
Jeff seconds. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Second.
Aye.